Welcome to Pax Europiana. This is now the third media event in Austria after Vienna, Linz. I'm now in the second largest city of Austria, that is Graz, a very beautiful and amazing city, and I really like it. And I'm honored. I'm here now in Presseclub, and this is an important institution here to make press events. And I do now a pre-briefing in English and then also in German to discuss about the Steiermark and Austria's NATO accession, because now we need to join NATO. Sweden and Finland are now almost fully in NATO. There is only 2 ratifications of the accession treaties missing in Hungary and in Turkey, and be sure this will also be completed. And what we are now having in Austria is a non-debate. I'm now speaking as well with several politicians, and they are all very afraid to be the first to call for NATO, because they are afraid of the status quo and the 90% of Austrians which are supposedly for neutrality. But if nobody starts and nobody explains, we have exactly the messy situation which we face now in October 2022, as Austria is getting more and more isolated. European NATO members are now making a European sky shield. That's very good to protect the European skies against Russian, Iranian and other threats. They should include, of course, Ukraine, and I feel so much with Ukraine. It is terrible what is happening now with this Iranian drone attack on Kiev. That's a horrendous crime, and it must be punished by the International War Tribunal. And we need this sky shield, and Austria is now spending 2 billion euro budgeted in the next years to do our own sky shield. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous actually. As well, the training mission, which now is planned from the EU to train the Ukrainian soldiers, Austria will not participate. So we stand completely isolated and aside. And I was told yesterday that Ireland is actually considering NATO membership very seriously now, and they are starting a public consultation process with the aim of achieving this, and I'm also very much applauding it. The majority of Irish are already in favor. So the big idea of the Austrian Defense Ministry and Foreign Ministry, who actually Mr. Schallenberg is going from defeat to defeat. His Iran policy yesterday in the EU Council defeated. He was the most pro-Iranian foreign minister in the last 5 years, and he is now, the deal is over, and he is absolutely defeated. He was very much anti-Ukraine's EU accession, and the EU is now a candidate status. He is against the NATO training mission, the EU training mission for Ukraine, and it is happening. He was opposing everything which happened in the last 5 years, and he was always defeated. I don't know why he is still the foreign minister. It's for me a mystery, because his foreign policy has completely failed. So the situation is very clear that we need to join NATO. There's also the issue, I have outlined it in the other press conferences already quite a lot, but some new aspects is of course the present situation of the alliance, the so-called neutral alliance. And this is a big issue, and the neutral alliance is going in the direction that we have Malta and Ireland, who are in the process, also Malta and Austria, to consider an alliance. That's what I wanted to say. There was a bit of background noise. Thanks a lot for closing the door. Herzlichen Dank. And the situation is like this, that Malta and Austria and Cyprus, and that's basically the idea of the Austrian defense minister, to build an alliance with Cyprus, and with Malta. And I was at this Maltese event at the Diplomatic Academy, and it was very clear that they also want to do it. So the future of Austrian defense is the famous alliance, the axis La Valletta to Vienna. I mean, it's on the edge of being really funny if it would not be so serious. And we will spend a lot of money on defending La Valletta, or I don't know exactly what that is. And also Cyprus is interested. Seemingly they had this meeting, and there was this Euronews article, and I totally reject, of course, this trajectory of Austrian foreign policy. We should integrate fully into the West. There is additionally a very, that I said about the sky, yeah, exactly. Austrian neutrality is also in the way of supporting Ukraine with tanks, and I'm fully in favor of supporting Ukraine with Austrian tanks. And I remind Mr. Nehammer, he is supposedly the best friend of Mr. Klitschko, but friendship in the time of war requires also action, and when it comes to action, there is no action. So we are coming to the point I have now, these new points. Yeah, what will neutral Austria do if Russia attacks Estonia? I made that point already very clear, that our foreign policy is then also obliged to support Estonia, so why not completely doing it from the beginning? So I've written a wonderful article about in Malta Times about, and it was happily, I'm very grateful to Malta Times, it was published, Malta, Austria and Ireland united in NATO. That is basically the situation I have called for, and then Mrs. Tanner has reacted with Finland and Sweden said to join. Austria seeks neutral allies. So she is forging this famous neutral axis in the EU, which I completely reject. Yeah? And even worse, and I am very disappointed by Mr. Karl Nehammer, because he is forging now this alliance with Orban and with Vucic. These are the most pro-Russian politicians you can find in the European Union today, and Austria, for reasons of migration populism or whatever kind of desperate policy there is, and they are forging now this alliance. And in my friends, the countries I work and I'm involved in, Albania, Macedonia and in Montenegro, in the NATO allies, they are asking me, what is Austria doing? I mean, Mr. Vucic is bullying Kosovo, is bullying everybody in the Balkans, Montenegro, Bosnia. He's controlling and blocking everything, and then we are endorsing this policy by this alliance, and this is completely wrong. On the contrary, what we should do as Austrian foreign policy is, of course, to join NATO together with Kosovo and Bosnia in order to form a security inside NATO of the countries who are ready for Western-backed peace. Yeah? And that's, of course, Kosovo, Bosnia, and Austria should be part of that alliance and not forging some kind of loose populist alliance with Mr. Vucic and Mr. Orban. I remind that we are in war, that the situation is dramatic, that since the 16th of March and the day when Mariupol theater was bombed, nobody can say that he doesn't know anything or whatever. That was clearly genocidal intent. It was a civilian infrastructure with a lot of civilians inside, and it was well known to the Russians that people are inside, and they target bombed this building and killed a lot of people, and they destroyed Mariupol later. And yes, we cannot claim lack of knowledge or whatever. We know exactly, and also the Hungarians and the Serbs know exactly what is happening. Still they are siding with Russia, and that's very problematic. I repeat, we should also have, as I said in Montenegro 2 days ago at the press conference, we should integrate Albania, North Macedonia and Montenegro in the European Union very fast, and Kosovo and Bosnia in NATO very fast, and isolate and defund Serbia. This is very important, and should be the foreign policy of Austria in line with Alois Mock, and this should be the tradition of our foreign policy at this moment of confrontation and war and crisis in Europe. And this is very important. And I made that slide and I made that statement very clearly. Yes, that was the new slides, which I have not included up to now in the presentation. And I'm very thankful. And now I will then start with the German presentation. Thanks a lot for watching. More to come from Pax Europiana here from Graz. Bye.